Today's unboxing is on magnesium, potassium, or actually today's unboxing is on magnesium. This happens to be magnesium, potassium aspartate, and magnesium is a very important mineral, and this happens to be my favorite. This is about the size of a capsule. Not bad. It is kind of big, but this has been what survived or helped me survive no more AFib. So let's talk about some of the symptoms that we have to watch out for with regards to a low magnesium level. Regular blood tests, by the way, don't really check magnesium properly. It has to be checked via a blood test called a magnesium RBC. That tests the red blood cell amount of magnesium. So when you pull blood out, you have serum, you have red blood cells, you can spin it down and get other things in it, but if you just check the amount of magnesium floating around in the serum, it's off. It can vary. If you check the amount in a red blood cell, it's right on. And I like to get my guys about 6.4 at least. The only problem with overdosing on magnesium is that you might get a little bit of diarrhea, or a lot of diarrhea. In fact, again, going back to the symptoms of not having enough magnesium, some folks would have constipation. Some people have palpitations. That means your heart skips with activity, with sleeping at night. And another thing, sleeping at night. If you have problems with insomnia, it could be because your magnesium's low. If you have problems with anxiety, it could be because you have magnesium that's low level. Cramping of the muscles, Charlie horses at night, same thing. Cramping when you're exercising, same thing. There's a lot of things that do cause magnesium to go off. Like food. If you don't have enough food that has high sources of magnesium, well, you're not going to get enough in your diet. You can get in green leafy vegetables, beans, legumes, seeds, nuts, fish. So magnesium is plentiful, but again, you have to pick the right food sources. And sometimes even if you are eating healthy, the places where your food grows, its greens or beans or vegetables, might not, or the fish that are being farmed, might not have enough magnesium in them. So other forms of magnesium, aside from aspartate, are oxide. I don't like oxide. I think magnesium oxide is the cheapest. And if you have constipation, oxide, I don't think gets absorbed. It just gets put through from the stomach into the small intestine into the colon, and it's an irritant because it's a very highly positively charged mineral. So if it's an irritant, it's going to make the colon get rid of it, and it's going to give you soft stool. So oxide for soft stool, fine, but then what are you going to do with if it just passes through and your body's lacking it? What are you going to do with the cells in the body? The cells in the body require magnesium to go through their enzyme processes, to go through hormone making, to go through DNA replication. So magnesium is so important as a cofactor, even making thyroid hormone. So when you don't have enough, you'll get by because the body will try to scavenge by using other positively charged particles, but it won't do it properly. Thus you'll be able to run, but you'll have cramps. You'll hit the wall. You'll be able to think, but you'll have brain fog and memory issues. So, other forms of magnesium. This is magnesium citrate. This is a popular one. Let's see if I can open this. This is a popular one that comes in powder form, either big jugs or these small sachets. So you just have to tear one of these open and put it in water. This is cherry flavored. That's calm. You can find this over the counter. Most pharmacies will actually have this. Definitely health food stores. I like Fruitful Yield. Whole Foods is pretty good too. So you'll be able to find this in different flavors. There's raspberry, lemon, orange, cherry, and original unflavored. So this is a nice option, but I don't think that the oxide I don't like. Citrate, it's okay. It gets through. It's palatable, I guess, if you want to change your the way your water tastes. I still like aspartate. Now there's also malate that's out there. Malate's pretty good. Glycinate, magnesium glycinate's pretty good. These two are a couple different forms. This magnesium is considered high absorption magnesium. I'm not sure what they mean by that. But it doesn't really say the binding material for the mags. It's just a liquid. You put a dropper of this in your water, 8 ounces of water, It gives it a little bit of a salty taste, again, because it's a highly positively charged element on the periodic table, kind of like sodium, highly positively charged. And it tends to give you that salty flavor. But it's okay. I made a mistake of trying it straight to my mouth and it burned. But again, just to get your food sources in. So a form of magnesium. Source Naturals is a good company. Life Flow is nice too. This is a magnesium spray. Now this comes from brine, supposedly. And brine, just think of going into water, the ocean, with an open cut. It will burn because of the salt. Well, this is kind of like a salt form. But this is a magnesium oil. So the cool thing about this is that if you have muscle spasm, trigger points, even right to the temple here, you can use this to get through the skin. I think it gets through nicely because of the fact that it's a brine, but you have to be careful. I had the mistake of putting this on after taking a shower with no moisturizer, and I sprayed it to my back, and it did burn, like I had a sunburn, and I went into the ocean, and then I got oil all over the ground. So it also comes in lotion form. So another way. Now, if you're doing oral capsules, I think it gets in. If you're doing liquid, it should get in quicker. If you're doing powder, has to be digested. It might get in. It's not as concentrated as the capsules. If you're doing topical, it will get in, but not at the volume that you'll get with concentrated amounts. So if you're trying to test it out, if you're super sensitive and your gut's super sensitive, or you already have a tendency to have diarrhea, loose poop, you might want to go with something that's easier. Again, topical, you're going to have to spray a lot to get through. If you have local spasm, you can probably just use the topical. But if you really have symptoms like palpitations, atrial fibrillation, which is what I had before, but I broke it. If you have constipation, if you have muscle cramps, if you have difficulty sleeping at night, then all these things might get a response from taking in magnesium. You probably need about 3 weeks to find out if it is going to help you positively. I always like to make sure your kidneys are okay, so blood tests to make sure kidneys are functioning properly, because if the kidneys aren't working right, it can get excreted through the kidneys, it can get excreted through the poop. You have one way or the other, but I fear that it can probably worsen a kidney problem, so you have to be careful if you're older. If you don't have a kidney problem, if you don't have loose stool, if you're actually constipated, go for it. But again, these things, this element works as a great source, or this mineral works as a great source for supplementing what we don't get in our average diet. So give it a try. It might be worth it. At least 3 weeks. Maximum dose, usually about 250 to 400 milligrams twice a day. You can probably ramp up faster than that, but I think that's a nice standard or sustainable practice. And everybody's different, so you can dovetail it depending on how your poop is and how your symptoms go away. But you can, again, throttling how much you use depends on your symptoms, or if you're just using it because you want other systems to work better, then have your blood tested, magnesium RBC blood testing. You do it before you start your magnesium experiment, and you do it about a month to 3 months after you've been on it for a while. But don't change too many things. I mean, if you have nuts, if you have a lot of salt, fine. But I think, again, this is a shortcut. So give it a try.